What's up, Sterile Processing Universe? It's Hank Balch here, back in studio with Matthew Richardson. Talk about real estate investing and the sterile processing professional. If you remember last episode, we talked about some lessons learned that Matthew shared from his first experience in investing, and ended on a high note. Everything turned out well, and there's profit to show for all of that. But it's a great kind of segue into okay, now you got some basics. Now you're inspired. We're starting to equip you. But if you're kind of sold now and you're like, okay, I want to get into this, where do I start? Well, one of the first places that you're probably going to need to start if you're not already independently wealthy is the financing discussion. So, Matthew, welcome back in studio with us today to talk about financing.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
So, where do you start with financing? Maybe kind of like set the table here. What are some important terms and categories that you may hear out there when you're first having these discussions in the real estate space?
Yeah, I think the fundamentals of financing are going to be your conventional financing through traditional mortgage lenders. Some terms to be familiar with would be conventional, FHA, owner occupied, various things like that. And some of the things that you'll need to be aware of going into that is your credit score, what financiers call your debt to income ratio. They're going to care about that as they go approve you for a loan. So don't go buying a Range Rover just yet. That could hinder you being able to finance a property if you have a big car note. So just be aware of those terms and begin researching those terms, and that way you can reverse engineer how to get the loan.
I know you're not a credit counselor, but let's talk about that credit score just real quick. Do you have any advice, for folks that are planning around this, want to be prepared? Like, where do they start if they want to take a look at their credit score and start being serious about that?
Yeah. So the three things that I think are most helpful. I have quite a bit of experience with because I had a very negative credit score when I began my journey. So I learned what are the highest impact items. And your high impact items are going to be what credit bureaus like to call derogatory marks. Some you can't change if you've had a late payment, so never have a late payment. But look at your derogatory marks. If there's anything unpaid on your account, pay it off. The next is credit card utilization. This is both negative and positive. Lenders want to see that you're able to service multiple loans, but be on time and not let them get crazy. So when you look at it'll show up on your credit report as CCU, credit card utilization. Keep that and bring that below 30% across all cards. And then the third of that is going to be your more long term payment history. So, or it's second to that. One thing too that your credit report may not manage, but lenders specifically will care about is what we talked about earlier, your debt to income ratio. So a car payment may or may not be good for you depending on what your income is.
Is there anything else on that debt to income ratio that folks should be aware of or should be working toward if they're trying to put themselves in the best position to be prepared for this investing conversation?
Yeah, I would say well just practically just analyze your scenario. Sometimes, as Elon Musk says, it's easier to make $1 million than it is to save 10,000. So in that process, like it may be easier for you to increase your income right now than it would be to reduce your debt. But always have that going in both directions, paying down debt and increasing income. And the debt to income, a lot of the questions that I receive are, but once I have two investment properties, isn't that going to ding my debt to income? No, because they offset it with the income. So
Mm.
whenever you have debt that you can offset with someone paying you for that debt, that's good debt. and lenders will offset that. So just be aware of that as you analyze debt to income ratio. Don't be nervous when you're adding properties because that's offset debt to income.
And yeah, speaking of income and increasing income, that reminds me of the real hot video that you and Jardine Carlton were a part of, talking about how to increase your income as a sterile processing professional, and just the crazy pace at which you two guys were able to do that in a very short amount of time. And particularly for you as a young sterile processing leader, too. So if folks are tuning in and they haven't seen that video, go to the Beyond Clean channel and just track down Matthew Richardson, and then you'll see that come up. That's one of the highest performing videos on our channel right now. So, great conversation, great call out there. Um, so let's talk about the concept of leverage. This is probably one that's going to come up a little bit as folks begin to research and get into the space. So, when used in this conversation of real estate investing, what is leverage?
Yeah, leverage broadly or explained is if I were to have $100,000 cash and I buy $100,000 home, I've used all cash, that's 0% leverage. But if I instead put a 20% down payment on the home, then I've utilized leverage and saved my cash. Leverage expedites your wealth in real estate investing. And one of the ways in which it does that is I'm now controlling $100,000 asset with only $20,000. And so what happens is you can see very quickly when the home appreciates by $10,000, I don't make a 10% increase on my personal money. I make a 50% increase because I only put in 20,000. And so leverage enables us to expedite our wealth, but what it is specifically is just using the bank's money or using someone else's money instead of my own to buy an asset.
I want to talk about that some more. Probably not in this episode, but the idea of using someone else's money to make money is really exciting to me. So let's make sure to mark that down for a future question. Let's wrap this episode, though. You kind of alluded to this earlier in talking about the debt to income ratio, too, but I just want to spend one more moment to really zero in on the difference between good debt and bad debt. Can you explain that for us?
Yes, yes. Robert Kiyosaki says it most simply. Bad debt is the debt I pay for. Good debt is the debt other people pay for me. And what that means specifically is if I go buy a car, I'm spending $500 per month on that car out of my personal income. That's bad debt for me. It meets a need, but it's bad debt. And when I look at good debt, that is I have a mortgage on a rental property and my tenant is paying that mortgage off. That is good debt because it is debt that is making me money. It's debt someone else is paying. And you can get more specific in that, right? You can have a 5% loan that you're getting a 12% return on. That's good debt. It's making me money. But broadly speaking, that's what it is.
Okay, great, great. Yeah, that's very helpful. So we're going to wrap up this segment. For the next episode, we're going to kick that off with another one of these lessons learned. And in particular, we're going to talk about lessons learned around, hey, how did we finance the first deal that Matthew was a part of? What he learned from it? And then what are some tips for securing financing for your own real estate investments out there? So all very important topics. And if the lessons learned this time are like the lessons learned last time, there's going to be a lot of value for the audience. So I really appreciate you coming back again to share your insights, Matt.
Very much. Thank you.
All right. That was Matthew Richardson. You're watching this on the Beyond Clean channel, or you're listening to it. And we appreciate your time. And we hope this is encouraging and equipping you to get out there to make some money with your money, or make some money with someone else's money. And we'll talk more about that again on the following episode. But like we say around here all the time at Beyond Clean, until then, keep fighting sturdy.
It's your special day, 'cause you're getting that big raise. No errors in the medical trays. Yeah, you keep everybody safe. You should get all the moolah, the smackers, the Benjamin's cabbage. So that's why I'm happy to say you deserve it. Yeah, you earned it for your hard work. Yeah, lives at stake. You keep us safe, fat and dirty, never complain. The real MVPs are certified. Yeah, it's time you got a raise. So it's your payday. 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 Sterile processing technicians, you're even greater than our wishes. You make sure every case starts on time. Hard work and long days, you stop the line when you need to, and you never complain. You never compromise quality. Yeah, I think you're insane. You should get all the cash, all the green, all the checks. Yeah, I mean it. You deserve it. Yeah, you earned it for your hard work. Yeah, lives at stake. You keep us safe, fat and dirty, never complain. The real MVPs are certified. Yeah, it's time you got a raise. So it's your payday. It's your payday. It's your payday. It's your payday. We know that it's a labor of love, and so it's only right we get to see a change. You deserve it.